Not only is it not anti-Semitic to criticize Israel, I would argue that for Palestinians specifically, it is actually impossible for them to be anti-Semitic. The reason for that is anti-Semitism, like any form of prejudice, really is about power. Who has the power over whom? To give you a quick example, let's think about, for instance, the 1940s and Japanese people. In the United States, Japanese people were thrown into internment camps, and that was very much racist. It was white Americans grabbing Japanese people and throwing them into internment camps under a system of white supremacy. Now, at the same time in the 1940s, the Japanese Empire was expanding into East Asia, including China, engaging in a very brutal colonization of China. You can just look up the rape of Nanking and how horrible it was what the Japanese people did. Now, if you went to the 1940s and talked to a Chinese person and they said they did not like Japanese people, that wouldn't be racist. And the reason for that, beyond the fact that, they're drawing off their personal experience, the reason why it's not racist is because they don't have any power over Japanese people, right? They were in the subordinate position, and their personal prejudices, even if they were unfair and generalized in an unfair way, there was no way for them to enact that through institutions, through violence, through exclusion, or anything like that. So when it comes to anti-Semitism, if a white person of Christian background says they don't like Jews, yeah, that is anti-Semitic. That is terrible, because what you're doing is you're reinforcing a hierarchy where, people of Gentile background have more status and more privileges than Jewish people. But if a Palestinian says they don't like, even though I think it's an unfair generalization, if a Palestinian person says that they don't really like Jews, let's say a Palestinian living in the West Bank, and their only experience with Jewish people is Jewish settlers, now, I'm not a fan of that opinion, but it's not anti-Semitic in the same way that a German person making generalizations about Jews is, or an American is, right? Because anti-Semitism is about power. People in Palestine, when they see the Star of David, they've only seen the Star of David in a context of a flag that has been mounted on tanks that go in and brutally repress and kill Palestinians. We see, for instance, the Star of David, even in many cases, being branded with a hot iron on Palestinian faces. So look, I'm not a fan of any generalization that Palestinians make about Jews, and in those cases are actually pretty rare. Most Palestinians actually do, almost all Palestinians understand that there's many Jewish anti-Zionists. But insofar as you would even find a case where a Palestinian makes a generalization about Jewish people, that's just not anti-Semitism. It's not the same thing as a European saying that.